Hello trainers, Ganeto here, and today we're diving together into Fantasy Cup with an exciting team which I think you're gonna enjoy a lot. We're gonna use Slurpuff today in an amazing showcase paired up with Giratina and Alola Sunslash. About those two Pokemon, we're gonna use them with Shadow Claw so you can see that we can have the best out of them, while Slurpuff up in front will most likely have one of the best matchups against any lead out there. So with that said, let's see what we have here, because our Shadow Force from our Giratina will threat anything, and I mean this, even another Charmer. So down we go here to the Flamethrower, but it doesn't matter, we can still farm down in the process with our own Slurpuff. I know that this is gonna be just a Flamethrower which we can survive, and right after I'm gonna press immediately my Play Rough, seeing the switch out to the Tapu Fini. Sunslash now can go in and start farming down a lot of energy while at the same time trying to close the battle, but to be honest, I do not like a lot my odds over here. The only win condition that we might have is if they have something like a Dragonite at the back, so it all remains to see, but with their team alignment seems like it, because they have a Fairy type up in front, a Fairy type at the back, perhaps in between they want to get to a Dragon type, but instead they have a Registeel. So Registeel is also pretty good at this point for us, because we have one shield and we can catch the move on our Slurpuff. I knew they were gonna throw because they were having a lot of energy here, so over farming so much with Locons could not be a nice fit for them. Also they were trying to catch here, I was trying to over farm anyways, so farming down the Tapu Fini in the process always helps here, and to be honest, we have the upper hand no matter what happens, because with one shield we can just completely farm down. I think they know that and they will back out, right? Yeah, here it is. So that's gonna be a solid victory with a lot of outplays from our side. Into the next one now with a Haxorus up in front, and if you're thinking, Ganeto, you are absolutely safe against this Pokemon, well, think again, because this Pokemon can be kinda troublesome for our Sunslash, so I'm pretty glad that we have avoided, but still it can have access to Earthquake, which can obliterate down a lot of its counters, even the Charmers and the Fairy types in total. So over here I'm expecting the Haxorus to return, but to be honest we have a lot of energy to spare, so here comes now my Ice Punch. So they're most likely gonna block, and the next one might go through, might not. Let's see how they want to respond, I do not remember. So yeah, both of them shields are out of the way, so Slurpuff now can go in, and I will try to pop out the shield, and guess what trainers, it is gonna be the breaking swipe. So I did not count correctly, or they just baited me over here, I do not remember at that point, but anyways I just want to shield the potential Earthquake, and with that said here we are having the Registeel as their third Pokemon. So with no debuff being applied from that sub cannon, we were kinda lucky, to be honest. We can use the first Shadow Force, and it's gonna do so much damage at the point that one more can absolutely finish them off. So they end up going for the next attack fail situation on my Pokemon, so this Shadow Force might not be enough, but yeah, it doesn't matter, it is still gonna be. So our Giratina has already done its job against the Registeel. Those weird deities are fighting each other, and of course right here the minor Pokemon, the Slurpuff against the Haxorus, you know who is gonna win, so they will back out. Into the next one now with a Genesect up in front, I will try to go ahead and spam my Flamethrowers, but then it hit me at that last second. Ganeto, this Genesect has Magnet Bomb, you have to avoid it at all costs, and then I will try to catch the move on the Giratina. So we were kinda lucky once again against this Genesect, catching the move at the perfect timing, and we're gonna bait out of there, out of nowhere, their own Giratina. So we can also survive their moves, which is pretty great, and at this point before going down we managed to beat them with our final Dragon Claw. So they can always farm a little bit more with that Genesect, and I'm seeing that I can survive one Magnet Bomb. I knew that, I was testing Slurpuff against various matchups on PvP. You can do that as well, it is really helpful, by the way, a pretty nice tip from by my side to you trainers. And also right here we can start getting those shields out of play with my Flamethrowers. Also, as it seems, they do not respond well to my switch into Sunslash, so at the back they might have something like a Dragon type. So guess what trainers, this time we are correct, because they have not a Dragonite but instead a Garchomp, which is absolutely the same since they both take double super effective damage from our moves. So Earth Power here has to be blocked at all costs, and right after one Ice Punch will most likely seal the deal. Oh, they can survive, this is impressive. But anyways, those Shadow Claws will be more than enough to finish off the job. So against Dragonite, this team has complete coverage against it. Even Giratina with those Dragon Claws is just gonna perform pretty well against Dragonite. But since I'm seeing the switch out to the Empoleon, I'm just gonna go with my switch to Giratina to counter them down. Straight to the Shadow Force, most people do not expect it, and look at the damage, this is crazy, I mean it. So right after we're gonna fall to those waterfalls, perhaps no, what am I saying, which waterfalls, they're just gonna go down in the process. We have the upper hand no matter what. Just excuse me, I had a rough night yesterday. So anyways, Slurpuff here against this Dragonite, and right after the Flamethrower for the Steel type and the Magnezone, they are gonna respect the damage of course, and right after I will try to pressure even more. I know that I can survive one move and still rely on my Alola Sandslash to finish them off. They are kinda weak to my Pokemon at this point, so both of them shields are out of play, so as soon as they spend their energy, I will be just fine with Sandslash coming into the battle with those Drill Runs to finish off the Magnezone and the Ice Punch for the Dragonite. Of course, first I need to sacrifice my Giratina to get rid actually of their energy on the Magnezone, just to be extremely safe over here. And right after, you can see that they're gonna switch out the Dragonite, trying to catch one Drill Run, but I was expecting the switch, so at this point we're just gonna throw the Ice Punch, and right after the Drill Run for that Magnezone to faint, and that's gonna be a well-earned victory for my team. So let's see what the next battle has to offer here, because up in front we're met up with another Steel type, and if you're thinking, Neto, you have a Fairy, they have a Steel, well, you already know that we carry the move Flamethrower, which is the key element for this Pokemon. So with Flamethrower you get access to those Steel types, with Play Rough you get access to those Dragons, so you can see as to how you can use Slurpuff as a solid lead against most of the meta Pokemon that are gonna be key and meta defining as well. So over here we're having the switch on the Tapu Fini. We're gonna follow with our Giratina. This is not a bad play overall or a misclick. I just wanted to avoid the matchup with Alola Sandslash, and as it seems we can also have a chance at completely farming down. But as it seems I do not want to do the extra mile, the extra step. We have only one shield left, and we can take advantage of that energy with our own Sandslash and farm a little bit of more energy. So they return to the battle with their Sandslash, which makes me think that whatever there is at the back might be kinda weak to my Pokemon over here. So we were right, because they have a Giratina. However, they end up catching the Flamethrower. Pretty nice play by my opponent. They were definitely expecting the switch out to Slurpuff, and at this point we got one more move, but this time the Play Rough. Big damage output to that Pokemon, and I know that whatever they throw cannot be a Shadow Force at this point. So it's gonna be just an Essence Power, one more coming through, and then I am in no mood at all to block their moves. So instead I will just go ahead and completely farm down. We have a lot of energy to spare and one Drill Run at least for their sake. So down goes a nice chunk on that Pokemon, and right after we can pressure for the knockout with the final Ice Punch. Of course I could go for the Drill Run, but for some reason I pressed the Ice Punch, and that is all. So into the next on trainers, and we're having up in front the Clefable. So this Pokemon is a complete core breaker for my team. They have access to Meteor Mass for my Fairy type up in front. They have access to Moonblast or Play Rough for my Giratina. So at this point I do not have the upper hand at all, but instead I will just go straight for the Shadow Force on the switch after I get hit by a Moonblast, and we're gonna do a lot of damage on this Pokemon, but they decide to block. I should have imagined because they had a Shadow Scissor at this point. So I also have a Shadow Shiny Scissor, and I think I need to create some content around it. Perhaps I will, who knows. So anyways, we're just gonna return to the battle here, and we're having the upper hand against this Clefable with our Alola Sandslash. However, they still have one more Pokemon in the back, and it ends up being a Tapu Fini. Things aren't looking that great, but the reason I decide to showcase a team like this to you, a battle actually like this one to you, is because I want to show you how you can play around the worst lead ever with this team. You still have a win condition, so all I want to do is to preserve my HP on Sandslash, even if it is gonna be super low. Right after I can finish off the job with the Ice Punch, and the Clefable now returns into the battle. However, they still have the upper hand with all that energy gained. I will try to switch out to that Slurpuff, but right after they have the Meteor Mass. To my surprise, we can survive, but still they can reach to the next move, and unfortunately this is gonna be kind of a harsh loss for my team. Even though we can reach here to the Ice Punch and grab that final shield, they are gonna have a close victory for their team. So yeah, Clefable, a pretty nice Pokemon overall, a pretty nice core breaker as well for my team, and well played to my opponent. Jackro, who is a friend of mine in Pokemon Go, who is gonna be our final opponent for this video, and we're having the Giratina up against us. So they know this is bad news for the Giratina, and now we're gonna bring into the battle our own Tina, because at the back they have that Tapu Fini. So our team is kinda weird, but still provides a lot of coverage against the meta, and that's why I recommend it to you trainers. Thinking out of the box is most likely the best way to play those weird cups like Fantasy Cup, which are centered around only 3 types. So yeah, you can take advantage of that if you can think out of the box and do something unique on your own. So over here the player of now can do a lot of damage on the Giratina, about 50%, and right after they are gonna switch out to the Weezing. Seeing the Weezing coming in makes me think that I can easily throw here a flamethrower, do some cheap damage to this Pokemon, and then switch out to my Sandslash. Perhaps that was a mistake, since we have Drillrun on our Pokemon and they were trying to snipe me down with that overhit through 2 shields. To be fair, I was thinking of not shielding. Okay, you saw my shield over there, I was just shielding at the last second, but anyways, well played to my opponent here. Now we're gonna have the upper hand for sure with that final Ice Punch, even though they have 2 shields, because yeah, Luna Sandslash is just gonna go to town. And yeah, well played my friend, that was a great game, but you were kinda unlucky on that alignment with our team compositions. So that is gonna be all for today, trainers. Thank you for watching and for staying till the end. Just be sure to leave a huge like before you go, and perhaps consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more of my content. And speaking of more of my content, just be sure to check one of those 2 videos that I have prepared for you, and I will see you all into the next one.